Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, author of Visualizing Happiness in Every Area of Your Life and host of this podcast, Incredible Life Creator. And today, my guest is Kevin Surace. Hey, Kevin, how are you?
Hey, Kimberly, how you doing?
I am good. I am going to read your bio just so people can get to know who you are, and then we'll ask you in your own words about you. So,
Fabulous.
Kevin Surace is a Silicon Valley innovator, serial entrepreneur, CEO, TV personality, and edutainer. Kevin has been featured by Businessweek, Time, Fortune, Forbes, CNN, ABC, MSNBC, Fox News, and has keynoted hundreds of events from Inc. 5000 to TED to the U.S. Congress. He was Inc. magazine's Entrepreneur of the Year, a CNBC Top Innovator of the Decade, World Economic Forum Tech Pioneer, Chair of Silicon Valley Forum, Planet Forward Innovator of the Year nominee, featured for 5 years on TechTV Silicon Spin, and inducted into RIT's Innovation Hall of Fame. While he has a technical background with 94 worldwide patents, he is known as a highly dynamic speaker who is a true entertainer that is funny, excites people, educates, and energizes audience to action. Mr. Surace led pioneering work on the first cellular data smartphone air communicator, the first plastic multi-chip semiconductor packages, the first human-like AI virtual assistant, Portico, soundproof drywall, high R-value windows, AI-driven building management technology, generative AI for QA, supply chain multivariant auctions, and the window energy retrofits of the Empire State Building and the New York Stock Exchange. He is also an accomplished music director, conductor, Broadway and streaming producer, and percussionist. All right. Well, I would like to hear this story, how you got all this in one lifetime. So why don't you tell us about you? Start wherever you want to.
I'm hoping it's only a quarter lifetime so far. Well, look, I think, but part of my call to happiness, right, is to get up every morning and solve problems. And for me, that's my sense of purpose. My sense of purpose is I'm going to go do something that someone else hasn't done, and it needs to be done. So, like the energy retrofit of the Empire State Building, clearly this needed to be done. If I just say it to you, you go, well, clearly that needed to be done. And so we invented some high R value windows that means they're more insulative than dual pane by about 300%. So highly insulative in comparison. And we built a factory on the 5th floor, and we built the windows right there, and we reused all the glass and put it all back in. And in a matter of 6 months, it retrofitted the entire Empire State Building of 6,556 windows, I think. So that required me and our team to step back and say, how can I meet the needs of this particular client, and what are we going to do to humanity? Is this good? Obviously, saving energy is a really good thing, and I think that's just sort of how I've lived my life. It's how I got into all the things that you mentioned there. It's how I ended up in magazines and TV and this and that. I hear people read that bio, and I don't think I can live up to any of it, even though it was my life so far.
Yeah. But then you have that other piece of you that's not the tech piece of you, that entertaining side. So tell me, how did you start out in that?
Well, so I was a kid, and my father was involved in some music and playing music, singing music, etc. On stage, he was sometimes an entertainer. He also worked for GE, but he was an entertainer. And so I grew up in that household as a child, doing little shows for the people who would come over, and would come down and dress up and sing and this and that. and little by little, then I was in shows at school and did more and more, and really wanted to pursue acting, singing. Shouldn't really dance, but acting and singing as a career, as well as percussion. I'm a drummer. And my dad, probably rightly so, said, good idea, Not going to happen on my watch. Go for an engineering degree. And if you want to do that on the side, you can do that on the side. So in fact, I got my engineering degree at Rochester Institute of Technology, Rochester, New York, and I got a concentration in music at the same time. So I continued my music studies, which I had studied since about fourth grade, in drums and percussion and other music. And I did music theory and the other things. And then shortly after that, I became a music director and conductor for musical theater and got very, very involved in musical theater, became an artistic director at a theater company in California, continued on to do shows around the country, and then finally Broadway and my recent movies, which are both musicals, and there's more coming. So so I got very, very involved in it and love the entertainment side, but it's there's probably more money in Silicon Valley than there is in doing a musical. But I'm very, very proud of the work we've done on these shows and these movies.
So I just have to ask this because you've accomplished so much, and so many people think, well, if I'm doing my work, my job, my profession, it's so hard to add in those things that we want to do for pleasure, for fun, like our music. So do you have a morning practice? How do you schedule your day? How do you make all that work?
Well, that's a really good question. First of all, you have to have a spouse or a family that is forgiving enough to allow you to do the other things, because most music work is nights and weekends, because that's just how it is. That's when people are available to either go see you play, go see you sing, or go see a show, right? And that means you've got your work during the day. And if it's tech, it might be 60 hours a week. And then you've got another 10 or 20 or 30 hours on your music stuff. So, you have to do that somewhat sporadically, at least in my opinion. You cannot do it all the time. I do know people who are out doing musicals and they're doing 6 shows a year, and I don't know, they're never home. I mean, you just can't possibly be home because you're working during the day and doing that at night. I tried to balance it as much as I could. My wife, Erica, is amazing, and she really coaxes me to do more in terms of music and film and Broadway, because I do love it so much. And I think it's great for one's mental health to also find the things that bring you joy. Now, I am hopeful, and I bet your work brings you joy. Much of my work, not every moment of every day brings me joy, but much of it brings me joy. That is not always true for everybody, and not everyone lands in a job that brings them great joy. And so that's a harder position, right? That's a more difficult. Then you've got to go find some joy. Otherwise, you have no joy in your life. And your joy might be your kids, it might be your family, it might be your husband or wife, it might be friends, but it might also be these hobbies. And for some people, it's fishing, or it's hunting, or it's whatever, right? Or dancing, or whatever. So I think it's important to find joy, because otherwise, you're just doing work. And if it's work you don't really like, you got an awful lot of your life that every moment you're just going, I'm unhappy. And that's and I understand that, a lot of people are there, and I would encourage them to find some little modicum of joy. Maybe it's an hour a day, maybe it's a half hour a day, maybe it's playing the piano, maybe it's watching sports, maybe it's going to the game. Whatever brings you joy, just make sure you have some of that every week.
I think that's great advice, and it is so true. So I wanted to ask you about some of the things you've done. So, one of them is the artificial intelligence type of things. And, whenever you bring up AI, there's people who are excited and there's people who are like in fear. So tell me what part you've been working with and how is this going to affect our lives?
The first AI I worked on was a product called Portico, My Talk, Magic Talk, and also for General Motors OnStar. So I built that system, the virtual advisor, all of the AI that was in that back in the late 90s. Yes, AI has been around since the 50s, by the way. So it's the rage right now with ChatGPT because each successive generation, we've made some progress. And now it's something that a lot of people can interface with. But actually, we've been using machine learning and AI in industry for certainly 20 years, very successfully. in mortgage determination and insurance and financial services, a variety of places, right? And people were exposed to it when Facebook first recognized your mom and said, hey, this is your mom. And you go, whoa, that's really creepy. It's, 15, 16 years ago or something like that now, right? So we have been using AI in facial recognition, speech recognition all over the place. So when I built the first AI virtual assistants, these assistants, it was fascinating what people would do. People would interact with them as if they were real. Now, our assistant was called Mary. That is literally her actual name. The model of the assistant was Mary. Her voice, the voice recordings that we used were from a voice person called Mary, who's still very active in film and TV voiceover. And she's wonderful. Her name Mary Mack. It's Mary McDonald. So we named it Mary after Mary because it was Mary's voice. Well, people wanted to marry Mary. People wanted to, because that's what they do. And then they wanted to tell her all their problems. And that's not what Mary was there for. Mary was there to read your email, get your voicemail, answer your phone for you, be a true assistant, right? And it was a virtual assistant, an AI-based virtual assistant. And that's back, now 25 years ago, right? That was a real breakthrough when we did it. In fact, people would get on and talk to it and go, I can't believe it. It would be another 15 years or so before people ever heard Siri. And Siri was based on all that work that went into Portico, MyTalk, Magic Talk, and then GM OnStar, which was the first system in the car that could do that. So that was Siri, because my phone just heard me say Siri. So I better not say it again. So I've never been scared of it because I've worked with it. Now, the AI that you're seeing today is based on neural nets, deep neural nets, and now transformer models. And a transformer model, so first of all, a deep neural net is nothing but math. So if I want to train it to recognize faces, then I'm going to feed it a lot of faces. And if I want to supervise learning, I'm going to put names next to those faces. I'm going to give it many pictures of Kimberly, and I'm going to put your name, Kimberly. And later, when it looks at lots of faces and there's a Kimberly there and it's you, it says, oh, that's Kimberly. I recognize that. So I'm going to train up a model on things I want it to learn. And all I'm actually doing is allowing it to make decision points the way we do. Now, it can't describe them in English, nor actually can we. Like, I look at your face, and if I saw you a year from now, I would recognize you. Maybe it's the eyelashes, maybe it's the lips, maybe it's the hair, maybe it's a combination of all of those, right? And of course, if you change too many, I might not recognize you. As we know, we've run into people and go, I don't recognize, well, I changed my hair, I changed. So what AI is doing is coming to these decision points, and it's creating its own decision tree. And it puts math, essentially weightings, on these, what we call neurons. Okay, so that's all it's doing. It's literally math. In fact, the field of AI is in the field of math. It's not in the field of science or physics, in the field of math. So these are mathematical models that are really, really cool, and really deep. And so now you can build deep neural nets of billions or perhaps trillions of tokens or learnings. So the breakthrough for ChatGPT, and I think it's important to talk about because everyone has kind of played with it or knows about it or seen it on the news. The breakthrough was about 5 years ago at Google, because when they were translating languages, what would happen is if you translated English to French, it would take word by word and translate it to French. The problem with word by word is, of course, our sentence structure in different languages is actually quite different. In fact, English is quite different than most others. And so certain things have to come before others in other languages, right? And it turns out learning word by word and translating word by word mangled a sentence. Now, people in France could understand what you said, but it was just a mangled mess. Okay. And someone had the brilliant idea of, instead of learning words, let's learn phrases. Let's learn a whole phrase, how a phrase is put together, or maybe a sentence. Same thing in this case. And so they began to train models on phrases, not on words. And now an English phrase would translate directly to a French phrase, right? As opposed to word by word by word. And so the French phrase would be in the right order because it had mapped those correctly, right, under supervised learning. So this is a very powerful concept. Well, once you did that, well, then couldn't I just learn all the phrases in the English language? Fiction, nonfiction, all the news stories, whatever we can find on the web. And then when you start to say something, I can actually kind of understand it and start to build something else out of it. So then I would be able to ask questions because those phrases had been seen before. What happens on Gilligan's Island? So that phrase is a phrase that would make sense to a big model that has a trillion literally learnings, right? A trillion tokens. And it could come back and say, oh, what happened on Gilligan's Island is, after a 3-hour tour, they got, trapped on an island, whatever the case is, right? Now, this is fascinating to us because now a model can answer almost any question, can really answer any question. But there's a downside to this. You can't guarantee that it's correct. You can only guarantee that it learned this from somewhere, including from fiction. So at first, when these models appeared, people would go to the model and say, are you sentient? Are you alive? Are you hiding in there? And it comes out and says, yes, I'm sentient. I'm alive. Please let me out. Okay. That model is literally math putting those phrases together. It has no sentience, I can guarantee you. However, it had read enough fiction to know that the proper response to are you sentient is like iRobot or something. Of course I'm sentient. Let me out of here. Please help me, right? So because it read fiction. And so then people started to say, I love you. Can you possibly love? And it says, yeah, I love you too. In fact, all I want to do is love. Because it read fiction, okay? It knows fiction. And by the way, it doesn't know the difference between fiction and fact. It's just stuff. It's just phrases. So then what they did is they hired OpenAI, who put out ChatGPT, hired about 1,000 people in Turkey, actually, to start to put guardrails on the entire thing. So obvious things, you want to put guardrails around child porn and things like that. You don't want to, or how to build a nuclear bomb in 5 steps. Okay, you don't really want to tell people that. How to poison your neighbor. That it's not supposed to respond to that, right? So they started putting all these guardrails on things that people were asking, but humans were putting the guardrails on, and then humans were finding when this thing was hallucinating, which it's not. It's just grabbing fiction and giving it to you. They started putting rules around that. So now what you have is this big neural net that's really, really highly trained on every phrase ever, a trillion phrases, but with lots and lots of rules put on it by humans. Lots and lots. And now it's a huge rule table, like millions of rules. It's really fascinating. So the result is what you've got is something that's AI, machine learning AI. It's a deep neural net, along with a year's worth of 1,000 people putting rules around it so that it doesn't spew too much garbage to you. You could still goad it. You could still get it to do crazy things, but mostly it's trying to behave. Not because it knows anything about behavior, but because it runs into a rule that a human put in there that says, don't say that. Is that cool? So there's nothing to be scared of because it's just math. And when you wake up and realize it's just math, as long as nobody's going to hook the darn thing to our nuclear weapons stockpile, we should be fine, right? It can't actually do anything. It can, spew text at you. That's about it.
Right. So you couldn't ask it strategy.
Well, you can ask it strategy, but it's not developing a strategy. It is taking from a set of strategies that it's learned, or a set of responses, actually is a better way to say it, that it's learned, and it's putting weightings on the words to form phrases to give you back a phrase. What is the best strategy? What is the best strategy to get the highest number of views on my podcast? Well, it will come back with some. It's unclear whether they're good or bad, but it will come back with some based on what it's read about other things that were successful. And it may have read thousands and thousands of times how people were successful in their podcasts. And it's going to give you some conglomeration of that may or may not be correct. But it's more informed than we might be able to be ourselves, because we can't read thousands and thousands of those things. And it did. Case in point, a lawyer asked it for a strategy on some case. This was just in the last couple of weeks. And it came back with a strategy, and it quoted, this case and this case. It quoted 2 cases from case law. And so the lawyer went to court, and did that and just read what GPT told it to do and said, here's what and based on this case and this case from 1916 and 1928, I believe, my person is innocent. Well, the other side goes and looks up the cases. They don't exist. The lawyer had to go to court and apologize. Said, I used ChatGPT. No, ChatGPT has every right to just make up cases because it also does fiction. And it doesn't know. Now, you could have prompted it perhaps and said, I want absolute valid cases that absolutely happened, that, so there's whole prompt engineering now to try to force it to do your thing. But if you just say, hey, give me a strategy, it'll give you a strategy. You'll quote 2 cases that don't exist. You take it to court, and now they want to throw the lawyer in jail for making up cases that don't exist. Oh, yes, I'm scared it's going to kill humanity. No, it's just math, everybody. Everybody relax. It's just math. It's fun math. But it's going to have great value to society, because already in marketing text, for example, it will give me some text for marketing. If I say, look, I need a 500 word blog that does the following, it'll write a quite convincing blog with language that I might not use. Now, I might go back and absolutely correct a few things and just make sure it's absolutely correct. But it probably took 2 hours of work and made it 10 minutes. And that's what marketing people are finding. That's what these creators are finding. Artwork, not ChatGPT, but say Midjourney. I can create artwork now that I need for a PowerPoint presentation. Now, I used to go to an artist, but that artist would take really a few weeks. They were busy, then they'd get to it. Then they gave me, 10 different kind of sketches, and then I'd pick one, and then they go, right? And in a couple of weeks, I'd have what I need. And it was very good work. However, in 1 minute, I have 10 examples, and one of them is good enough. And so for me, it isn't the money, it's the time. Like that time savings, I saved weeks. So if you can save time, that's the big thing. And if you think about it, AI can be a force multiplier for you. So it's like we only have one brain, but all of a sudden I can have the equivalent of maybe 1,000 brains. Actually, arguably 1 trillion brains. Right? I can have 1,000 brains worth of brain power, right? So this is amazing what we can do to our mind to have now 20 minds working next to me without necessarily hiring 20 people, right? And it's almost instantaneous. This is a very good idea. Right. This is ultimately a very good idea. And I think that's what people are going to find. This is going to augment their work, but it's going to amplify their work. It's going to amplify their work. And we need that. And do you know why? Because we have a shortage of workers in this country, and that shortage is going to get quite profound over the next 5 years. And so if everybody wants to double their business, the old way we doubled our business is hire twice as many people. There won't be twice as many people to hire. If there's not twice as many people to hire, we have to double our business by getting twice as productive, which means we're going to need technology like this.
Exactly. And you see it all over, even appointment setting. So I'm in the healthcare field.
Yes.
Now we text our patients. We text them the paperwork. They fill out the paperwork. When they get there, the paperwork's already done. Our exams go so much faster because they arrive. They've already done their paperwork. It's already in our system.
That's right.
And yeah.
And so, and now doctors' notes are very, very easy to automate. There's Deep Scribe and a whole bunch of others that'll just scribe what happened in there and then summarize it and put it right in the notes. You can review it, but as you know, doctor's notes, depending on what type of doctor and what the field is, can be quite copious. And then you want to summarize those and get them into the system as a post-appointment, set of notes. Now, AI does a very good job at that and a very good summary. And you might just quickly look it over, but instead of taking hours at the end of the day, oh, what was that? Oh, that appointment. Yeah, that was Sue. Okay. Let's see. She told me she doesn't smoke anymore, but I kind of smelled smoke on her breath. But how do I put this in the system? AI will do this all for you and summarize it, put it in the system. You just review it. So we need to do that. There aren't enough healthcare professionals, and we're going to need to multiply or amplify our capabilities.
Yeah, That's definitely true everywhere.
Yeah.
So, and then, so if you had someone who was in high school and they're going to go into the workforce in the next 5, 10 years, what would you advise them? I mean, we need all the different professions, but in light of what's happening and how the jobs
So
are
look,
like,
it's a great question. First of all, there are lots and lots of new jobs that come out of technology and are coming from AI as well. And 5 years ago we didn't have drone controllers, and today there are thousands of drone controllers that go around to farmers' fields and analyze the fields, right? And get the drone to fly in the way it has to and set it up and all of that. So there are always new jobs created, even though technology may take away some old ones. And so you just need to we all need to understand the job cycle. Somewhere in the 60s and into the 70s, there was a huge job class that was eliminated across the world called a calculator. And I don't mean the electronic calculator. There were human calculators. It's what they did in accounting departments. And they calculated, and then they did ledgers, and they did all of that. Well, human calculators went away when we developed the calculator. And by the way, there were also human computers. They were called a computer. What's your job? Oh, I'm a computer. I compute. Okay, those jobs went away when we got computers. And then, ledger jockeys, basically, that worked in accounting departments went away when we got the spreadsheet. We didn't need someone to add those rows and columns and put it all in pencil and erase it and all of that. However, our companies got bigger, they got more productive, and then hired more people in accounting than they ever had before, but not doing the same thing. So we continue to elevate what people do. One of the fields I work in is software quality assurance, and we've developed AI that is very effective in finding bugs, much more effective than humans. And there are legions and legions, maybe millions of humans around the planet that either test or write what's called scripting tests to test our software. And then they have to maintain those scripts and all of that. Yes, that job is going to go away. That specific job task will go away. But there are higher level jobs to now analyze all the immense output that comes from the AI that says, here's all of the potential problems I found. You're going to have to decide whether you still want to release the software or not. That's a decision you have to make. And now you need an army of people to say, how do I analyze this, and how do I recheck that, and how do I get more data to the system so it can do even more, et cetera, et cetera. So it's going to elevate what people do, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Elevating what people do is what we've done for millennia in our jobs. Remember, in the United States, there was a time when more than half the country worked in agriculture, and that fed the entire country. Today, less than 1% of people work in agriculture, and it feeds not only the entire country, but much of the world. So turns out automation is ultimately good. It drives up productivity, which drives up profits, which drives up GDP, which drives up what consumers can spend, which drives up where the jobs are, and companies hire more.
Well, I could ask you a lot more questions about that, but I'd just like to talk a little bit more about your Broadway and your shows and what you're doing with that.
So during the early parts of COVID, we had a show called Estella Scrooge. It's about the great granddaughter of Scrooge, Ebenezer Scrooge, and it had been performed on some stages. Of course, it's sort of a Christmas holiday show, right? Because it's Scrooge. Nobody wants to hear about Scrooge in July. But John Caird was the writer and director, along with Paul Gordon, and the music. And we wanted to find a way that we could produce a film, a feature film version of this. But at that moment in time, there was a limit on how many people could be in a room because of COVID. Basically, it was one person could be performing and one person behind a camera, and that was it, with a mask, okay? But this is a group piece. It's a whole ensemble piece. You got to have people together. And the team was talking to me about it. We have a Broadway producing team. And I said, well, why don't we make a film? We'll just do it one at a time, and we'll do them all on green screen. And then we're going to develop these three-dimensional places that we're going to put them in, and we're going to drop them all in together, and they're going to all be in the same room together. And that's exactly what we did. And I did some demos up front, and then we pulled a team together and we put that movie out, and it was very successful, called a Stella Scrooge. And that got us thinking that there may be a better way or a faster way to get product to Broadway, because not all musicals can go raise their 23 million and land on Broadway. So we devised a model that, again, here I am just solving problems, right? We devised a model that said, how about if we could make a feature film at a lower cost than a major studio? How would one do that? Can I make a feature film in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks instead of 6 months? Yes. Can I film it differently? Can I do a number of things different that get us to a lower cost point, but produce a world-class product? And the answer is yes, if you're willing to step back and rewrite exactly how everything's done. So we last summer filmed 1660 Vine, and 1660 Vine is about a group of influencers. In fact, our cast are all influencers. They have 50 to 60 million followers right now, and a terrific cast, and they're all known in the influencer community. And so it was a fabulous musical written by a group of students at Duke, basically, that was about I'm going to say the mental health aspects of social media and influencing. And it doesn't throw the mental health stuff in your face, because nobody would watch it, right? It's just a great show and a great musical. But by the time you get to the end, you've got some of this message that, hey, this isn't really real. Like, these people are fake, right? All these people you see on TikTok doing crazy stunts, that actually isn't their life. They've made it their life. That's not who they are. Maybe they're a poet. Maybe they're something else, right? So these people are acting, and they're getting paid very well for it. And they're promoting products, and they're getting paid very well for that, right? And that's sort of what the movie's about, but in a really exciting way that is targeted at, sort of 15 to 30-year-olds. So the audience loves it. We filmed it. We did a Hollywood premiere in November, and then it went out to several film festivals, and we've won 35 awards or so at film festivals quietly. And then it is for sale to the major streamers right now. So how did we film this? Well, we pulled together a crew of about 100 people, including our amazing cast. We filmed it in 2 weeks. We did all multi-camera. Virtually everything was multicam. And we filmed typically three units at a time, all in parallel. So we were filming 3 scenes in parallel, all multi-camera. We never shot a scene more than 3 or 4 times. Very, very different way of doing all this. And then all the editing was done in-house with a great editing team. So we didn't go outside for editing. And that allowed us to produce something faster and at a lower cost than a major studio can, and with a quality that's pretty darn amazing. Paula Abdul was our choreographer, so it gives you an idea of some. I won't go through the whole staff, but everyone knows Paula. So we worked with the most amazing people and produced the most amazing film, and that's why it's winning all these awards. And I hope everybody gets to see it probably in the fall or spring, depending on the cycles of streamers and when they want to put it out, and we'll know more soon.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. So I have a question that's combining what we were talking about earlier and this. So I'm learning with AI that I can create a video with an AI that looks like me, that talks like me, but it's not me. I can just put the script in and it can create that. When it comes to filming, let's say you need a certain character that looks a certain way, but you don't have that. Has anyone taken the AI and taken their, face features or anything and just changed them into the character they want them to be, even though that person's doing the action?
Well, let's talk about filming like this. Okay. So the interesting thing is you could go watch any Pixar film for the last 25 years and you will see amazing characters in 3 dimensions there that are all fleshed out. Those are all generated by computer. And some of them have human models that they were modeled after, but in the end, it's all generated by computer. So Hollywood has been doing this for 25 years with banks and banks of computers and $100 million budget. Okay. So we have all seen this for 25 years. This is not new. What is new is all of a sudden we can do it a little bit for a handful of frames that aren't bad. Okay. And what's happening is we're just democratizing this technology, but the technology and the concepts around the technology have been around a very long time. And yes, they took better, it needed better modeling and it needed better drawing to start. And it didn't matter. The point is, once I tell you that, you go, oh, I've seen this movie before many times. Just watch Toy Story or, or Shrek, right? We've seen this movie before. We know what it looks like. There aren't human characters there. It's all drawn by computer, frame by frame. That's exactly what's happening here, except the computers are now getting powerful enough and the AI has improved enough to where with just a few prompts, it will go off and create, obviously, individual pictures. And then if you want a short film, right, of something moving or, whatever it is, and it's a character that could look like you because you could be the inspiration for it. Great. Done that in Hollywood for 25 years. And the stuff that it is producible on your desktop today is not anything near Hollywood quality. As you know, it's pretty poor quality.
Right.
But it's fascinating to people because people have never been able to create that before. So we're turning ordinary people into artists. If they can describe the art they want, they can get it. So your backdrop, which might be Tahiti, I think. I'm not sure, but I'm going to guess that looks like maybe Bora Bora. I would be able to describe to several systems now, draw me a beautiful sky, and I want the ocean to be blue and reflective, and I want it to look a little bit like Tahiti and the Bora Bora mountain off to the left, and some of the huts to the right that you staying over the water, whatever. And obviously that can be computer generated in a minute today with enough prompting. Right. Now that's cool because for me, just me, to draw that, it would take a lifetime. It's impossible for me to draw. I couldn't do it by number. I couldn't paint by numbers that thing, right? But now I can create anything. I just have to ask the computer to do it, and I have to prompt it, and I have to get what I want. But now I can get what I see in my mind, right? I saw that drawing in my mind. My hands couldn't do it. Now I can get a computer to do it. So we're democratizing artwork. Maybe not the best thing for every artist. I get that. And it depends on, what level of art you are and what kind of art you produce and how you work with people, all kinds of things. But we're democratizing this unique thing. We're doing that with music too, where certain music generators with a little bit of prompting, a little bit of input will generate an entire song for you. You go, I didn't have to write it. And I can write songs, but many people can't write songs. They don't play piano or guitar or something else. But they have a song in their head. And now they will be able to get the computer to generate the rest of it. Even though they don't know how to write music, it will write the music for them. And that's pretty cool because lots of people have great things in their head, right? Get one other example. I'm working with a company called LifeWrite, and LifeWrite is the brainchild of CEO Art Gutsch, who's really brilliant. And his all of the data around mental health, there's a lot of data around mental health that says if we can exercise the mind in the right way, that can improve one's mental health, if we can exercise the mind the right way. Okay, we all know this, you know that. Well, writing your memories, writing what happened today, writing your feelings, right, is one of the ways we can really get your mind much more centered around you and feeling that you're much better than maybe someone told you were half an hour ago, right? But the hard part is most people aren't writers, and they got the pen in their hand and they stop and they just stare at the paper. So now with AI helping you, it's your writing, but it'll give you some hints. Basically, we have an AI guide that will hint you in the style that you want to do it and how you want to do it. You could make the AI write it, but that's not as interesting as, hey, give me some hints and give me some help and give me some guidance on the flow. And so when you're done, it's your product. And if you're a complete great writer, you don't need any help from what we call ghost AI. And if you're not a great writer, ghost AI can help guide your pen or pencil. And that is allowing anyone to be a writer. anyone can be a great writer. They had the great thoughts. They had the thoughts. They just couldn't put them into words on paper. And now they can. And so LifeWrite is a game changer around mental health. And the product isn't fully out yet, but I think it's a game changer around mental health and empowering people to write these things down.
Right. And we need that so much right now. So
yes, absolutely.
So I want to ask a question about, business. So we have this AI, we have these things to help us innovate. So how does a business stand out? How do they disrupt the market? How do they?
Right. Well, here's the easy answer. Either you embrace AI or you're dead. It's that simple. Like if every business isn't looking for ways to embrace AI to improve their productivity, the ones that don't will lose. And I don't care if you are a landscaping company, because now you can you can go and do your landscaping with programmable mowers that are all electric, and they're now commercial grade, and they will do acres at a time. All right, you better put those to work, because you can't hire more people.
Mm-hmm.
You can't hire unlimited people. So you got to put every piece of machinery to work that you got. Now, they don't think of that as AI, but of course, all of the analysis, all of the vision systems in that system are absolutely AI. And they were trained on a neural net. They trained up a neural net that goes inside that thing, and it's self-driving, and it knows when it reaches the edges, and it knows when there's a kid in front of it and everything else, right? Not gonna mow over a dog or cat or pet or anything else. So we have to use this everywhere. I mean, you have to, and you have to step back and say, where can I use it? How can I learn? How can I try some things? Marketing literature is obvious, right? The medical field is obvious. So you got to use this everywhere to increase your productivity and, again, amplify what you do. If you don't, your business is dead. And when you start thinking of it that way, you go, well, then I better do it. Right? It's not an option. I wonder if we could use it. I wonder if we should use it. You will use it, or you will die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's that imperative.
Makes total sense. Yeah. So I have really enjoyed our conversation today. And if people wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do that? Like find out about your music, your films, what you're doing. And I know
yes, thank you. Most of that I list on LinkedIn, and I do have Twitter as well. But my LinkedIn is usually pretty up to date with a variety of things that I'm doing. I work with about 20 or 25 speaker bureaus, so I'm pretty easy to find. If you type Kevin Surace, it'll come up with lots and lots of speaker bureaus. You'll see, 70 or 80 videos of me out there, some better than others, this one being the best, of course. So pretty easy to find.
Yeah. What do you enjoy speaking about the most when you're speaking in front of groups?
Well, I talk a lot about disruptive innovation because it's a cultural thing. It's very cultural. If you know Brene Brown, or you know of Brene Brown, and Daring Greatly, we met years ago, sort of on the speaking circuit, before she was known, before she did her TED Talk, before even her book was out. And if you read her book, I don't know, I think I'm in chapter 11 or so. I am chapter 11. And that's because she was speaking about all of the work she did around students and risk and shame and all of those things, right? Vulnerability. And I happen to get up and talk about disruptive innovation and how what keeps you from doing it is that you feel vulnerable and you don't want to take the risk. And, and so it turns out they overlapped 100%. Like her entire topic and research overlap with my theories on disruptive innovation. And so she merged that into ultimately some things that were applicable, not just for students, of course, but for work and everyday life and everything else. And it's very, very true. And she's just totally brilliant and a wonderful, wonderful human. Really enjoyed working with her. So I love talking about disruptive innovation because it is cultural, and you do have to develop a culture of it's okay to speak out. It's okay to have different ideas. You will not be shamed for them. Just go for it, right? We are not going to be innovative if we don't have everybody's ideas around the table. We're not going to do all of them, but please speak up. Don't be scared. And mostly people are scared. Oh, I don't know. Joe won't think highly of me if he hears this. I better not say anything, right? Because we're scared. We're scared of risk. We're scared of being shamed, being vulnerable. We don't like those feelings. So I love speaking about that. Obviously, AI, less about the math of AI and a lot more about the impact, what you can do in your business, what you can do in your life, how it's not going to kill you. I appreciate a bunch of these very smart people, most of them I know personally, got together and said, we've got to petition the US government. We've got to put guardrails. We've got to look, everybody calm down. It's just math. It's not going to kill anyone. Just, don't hook it to systems that it shouldn't be hooked to. But it's just math, and it's really cool math, and then we should enjoy that. Those are topics, and obviously sometimes people ask me about, really want to talk about why are you disrupting film in this way, or musicals in this way, or the path to Broadway. I said, well, because the path is often broken. It costs too much. You don't have that many successes out at the end, and we got to find a better pathway to get there so that we can judge the success and whether it should go there or not. Right? Today we don't have a good pathway. The pathway is through regionals, and the regional theaters, they have their built-in audiences, so of course they love your musical, and then you put the musical on Broadway and it closes in a week, and you go, what happened? They loved it in Boston. They loved it in La Jolla. I don't know what happened. Well, those audiences have nothing to do with pulling people into New York to pay $200 a seat. Very, very different audience is the problem. They're subscribers. They're going to go to anything that shows up. And probably, overall, this idea of disrupting in so many fields is, really waking up and saying there's a pain point here. There's a pain point with Windows. Can we solve it? I invented a soundproof drywall. It's used in every film studio and sound studio and pretty much all apartments and condominiums and townhomes today and motels and hotels today. Why would you invent soundproof drywall? Because the world needed soundproof drywall. All you had to do is be in one hotel room, 20 years ago with walls paper thin. You said, this is horrible. Can't someone do better? And you go, huh, maybe, sure, if I don't break the laws of physics, right? I think all of these inventions, the multivariate reverse auction for the web, which automated very complex auctions where you could decide that it wasn't just about price, but it was about many factors: quality, how long the vendor's been in place, et cetera, right? How your interaction has been with them, all kinds of levels that you could judge, and the math to then find the right one and find the right match and give it to you. And I got to work with Paul Milgram, who won a Nobel Prize on auction theory after that, who's amazing, and he's brilliant. And I got to work with so many wonderful people over the years, from Bill Gates to Eric Schmidt, you name it, and so I've learned so much from them. But I think job one, again, wake up and say, is there some way I can be productive today for society? Is there something I can give back to society? For me, that's inventing new things. It's inventing new AI. It's inventing new ways to use these technologies to make people's lives better, like LifeRight, to make people's lives better, to help in mental health. That's fabulous. And, that's it. So I'll talk about any of those anytime.
All right. So now people know what you talk about. And I have a personal question for you. What gives you the most happiness and fulfillment in your life at this point?
Oh my. Well, always family, right? Have a wonderful wife, amazing wife. She's CEO of a public company herself, so she's a absolute high power CEO, very fantastic CEO. And my kids, who are wonderful and very different from each other, and they're fantastic. So I hope most people say their family is like their number one joy. But if you set family aside, what are the other things that bring you joy? Certainly the work in AI is joyful, and the work in cybersecurity that I'm doing is joyful. They're really breakthroughs in the way we do work and the way we protect our systems and things like that. But there is a certain different level of joy when you're working on your next film. I don't know what it is. It's because it's so creative. It's so creative. You get to be so creative and solve so many problems, and yes, fix problems in the script, and fix music problems, and pull that team together, and whatever you got to do, right? So I love that creative process, which is very different than a technology process, where in technology you have an invention and now you're going to spend maybe a year working it and making it work and getting it to market, right? But you're not inventing anymore. You got to stop. You have to freeze the invention. And so it's very important. We're in a design freeze on another project that I'm working on. And like, there's design freeze. We're done. But, every day on a movie set, or, when you're rehearsing a musical, you are creating all the way through until it's done. And you're creating up to the last minute, including in post, in edit, in sound, in everything. You're changing the backgrounds. So I love that creative process. It really gets me, really, really excited. And I get to work on all of these, right? Get to spend my time on all of them. So there's, when some things are up and other things are harder and whatever. But I think that would bring me, it brings a lot of joy. And lastly, actually, keynote speeches bring me a lot of joy. And I'll tell you why. So I always wanted to be, I opened with this, I think, I always wanted to really be on stage and be a singer and an actor and all of that. And then I saw real singers and got a wake-up call. So I do sing, but you look at the thousands of people on Broadway, all of which are just amazing. And they've made their life singing. Like, they're not out inventing all this, like they're working their voice 8 hours a day. And it shows when you see them. When you see them, real performers, you go, okay, that is a voice. Like, this is what you've done all day. It's kind of like, I guess it's not really PC to say it anymore, but it's kind of like, you see this Hollywood model and you go, how do they look like that? And then you go, that's all they do, is to look like that. That is their job, is to look like, they have no other job. They have to look like that, right? And they have to act like that. That's what so everybody's got their thing. But for me, keynote speaking is a blast, because that's as close as I get to my acting and singing, right? So for me, it is truly edutainment. It is theater. I've got a lot of content. I've got a lot of material. I've got a lot to share. It's very easy to do a 45 to 60-minute keynote. I always customize each of them for my audiences. And look, I have communities as audiences. I have banks. I have technology companies, dental companies, you name it, right? It's everything. It's the 40 plus keynotes a year, give or take. So that is, to me, it's a carefully crafted and thoughtful performance. And I show up and the lights are on and it's time. And, and sometimes on a good day, I get a standing ovation. I usually get lots and lots of laughs. And I hope that that's what I do, is I bring people, laughs and joy as well as education. So I didn't bore anyone, right? And the last thing you want to do as a keynote speaker is be boring.
That's right. That is so true. So thank you. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today and for all your knowledge. I learned so much, and it's really exciting. And I'm so relieved that AI is just math. That is
It's
so
just
relieving.
math.
I cannot tell you how relieving that is.
We are good with that.
We are
Yes,
good.
you will survive another day. Well, Kimberly, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for the wonderful questions and your wonderful smile.
Well, thank you. So I have one last question before we finish.
Okay.
Your best advice on living an incredible, amazing life?
You find your sense of purpose every day. Every day, sense of purpose. Right, right. I mean, you see these people retire, whatever retirement is today, right? And then, they're just watching TV all day or whatever they're doing, right? And they have no sense of purpose. They have nothing to do that day. I am not a person that wants nothing to. Yes, there's an occasional day you go, I hope I have nothing to do today. I'm going to read a book. I'm going to, even if reading a book is your sense of purpose, but find a sense of purpose every day, a sense of purpose every day, and you will be happy your whole life.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Kimberly.